yeah, if we live our purpose, everything works out.
Everything is just wonderfully comfortable. I love life.
Feeling is so great. I have so much energy. I feel much lighter.
There's a number of ways in which living foods help keep cells young and healthy.
It's the most well-known saying in the history of the world.
You guys are all so bright.
Living live teaches planet health.
My name is Karyn Calabrese. I'm 53 years old. I'm a holistic teacher. I run a raw food restaurant. I have a sprouting and wheatgrass company, and I've written a book and I lecture all over the country. I started with a sprout and wheatgrass company about 18 years ago, and I called it Karyns Fresh Corner. I was working with clients, and I would teach them how to change their diets and how to heal themselves, and I teach them how to make the foods, and they would do it for a week or two and they didn't continue. Well, I ended up with a client with multiple sclerosis. He asked me to make his food for him, and I started making his food. And pretty soon I was making food for all my clients. I had 6 dehydrators going in my house, and eventually my husband said enough. So I rented space in the back of a health food store, and I was still growing the wheatgrass out of a Karyns Fresh Corner out of a greenhouse. And the greenhouse got sold and torn down, the health food store closed, and I was left with 2 businesses and no place to go, so I started a restaurant. And so Karyns Fresh Corner was born, and it's a raw food restaurant in Chicago. I've been open for 6 years now, and it's my dream come true. I also, out of that, because I was doing the nutritional counseling and I used to see the clients in the back of the restaurant, I had a small little office back there, but it just took off so well that I eventually rented space in an office, and I started Karyns Inner Beauty Center. So we do colon therapy, oxygen bathing, lymph drainage, we have a BioRay machine, we have a photon beam machine, we have a chiropractor on staff, and that was born out of the next. And then, because I was teaching classes and helping people to learn the process, I was asked by a major publisher to write a book. And so I wrote a book called Inner Healing, Outer Beauty, and it's all about everything that goes on internally manifests itself outwardly. So everything that's going on in our faces, the little lines here, the lines here, they all show what's going on with the organs internally. And people that take my classes end up looking 10, 20 years younger, feeling 30, 40 years younger. So I've written a book about that called Inner Healing, Outer Beauty. I was a vegan for about 12 years before I came to the Living Foods, and I had become, well, actually I was a vegetarian, I wasn't a vegan. And I was a very sickly child. I had every allergy known to man. I was a model with terrible skin. I was constipated all the time. Bad mood most of the time too, with constipation. All the women in my family were died overweight and young, and so I knew that I needed to do something differently. So I started with the vegetarianism, and I didn't really, it wasn't a conscious effort, and this is what I teach, that it's about changing your biochemistry and the mind will follow. You know, so many people try to use their mind and they go on a diet to make a change, and the whole focus of my book and what I do is from my own life experience. And it started out that I couldn't go to the bathroom, so I started drinking vegetable juice. I started drinking vegetable juice, and being a slightly obsessive compulsive person, 1 glass wasn't enough. I was drinking quarts of it a day. And I started going to the bathroom, I started getting energy, my skin started clearing up, I started feeling better, and I developed a natural repulsion to meat. So I never consciously said I'm going to be a vegetarian, and my whole process was this way. It was divine guidance at its best, I think. Eventually, you know, the chicken went, and then the dairy went, and then I met Dr. Ann Wigmore. In the meantime, all the women in my family passed away, and I took care of them, you know, up until they died, and so I got to see firsthand the ravages of modern medicine, and it just furthered my resolve. And I met Dr. Wigmore. Well, before I met her, though, I read her books, and I put myself on her program at home for about 4 years, and then I finally went to Boston, and from there, I don't know, it just all evolved. You know, this is what I was meant to do. I haven't had a whole lot of choice in the matter. Initially, I made a lot more money. I was a model, actress, dancer. Made a lot more money doing that, but this just happened. And it's wonderful. Everything internally manifests. We're given the most beautiful picture to see what's going on. Even in the Jewish religion, punam on the inside means your face. So actually, every time you look in the mirror, you have a very clear picture of what's going on internally. The lines that you start to develop across your forehead, this is excessive mucus in the digestive tract. And you can actually reduce those lines. I mean, you can make them go away, disappear. I have pictures of myself at 25 and 26 where I have much deeper lines than I do at 53 on my forehead. And you can get mucus from many things. It isn't just a matter of eating dairy, stress. You know, who doesn't have stress in their lives? And the body builds up excessive mucus to protect itself from the acid. So a living foods diet, and you know, I want to say right here, I'm a firm believer in living foods, but even stronger than the living foods, and what my book is about detoxing the body. I think that's the most important aspect of healing and changing your body, because you can't use your brain to make the changes. You know, we'd like to think that all of a sudden I've decided to be this and I've read a book and this is the best thing that's going to be for me. But if your biochemistry is talking to you differently, and this is what you're led from your biochemistry. So primarily what I teach is, yes, living foods, it's a wonderful end result, but the most important thing, and this is what my book is about, is detoxing your body. The body is like an onion, and you build up of layers of garbage over a lifetime, and these layers lead you to what you're choosing to eat. And I've met raw foodists, and one of my dearest friends is a raw foodist for 6 years, and he looks like hell because he hasn't broken down the years of what he did before. So it isn't, I think raw foods, yes, that's the final result, but it's very difficult to just become a raw foodist. But as you detox and cleanse your body, these things start to change. The circles under your eyes, you know, these are your kidneys, what we like to call laugh lines or smile lines. This is your small intestines, and they're not absorbing properly any longer. A lot of people, I used to be a very thin person with a neck that hung down, you know, and that's your organs prolapsing internally. And all of this can be turned around because the body regenerates itself totally every 7 years. You get new cells every 7 years. You get new tissue every 3 months. So if you detox the body and go to what's comfortable, as you break down the layers, the body kind of leads you to where it's supposed to go. So I didn't decide to be a raw foodist. I think that's what I need to say here. My body led me there, and I think I'm so successful with it because I didn't make the conscious decision. My body led me to where it was ready to go next. What I've witnessed for myself and for my clients from the raw food diet, your body, it's hard to explain. Your body, it almost, an old body just melts away and your new body emerges. I have the body that I had at 18 years old. I have the exact same body that I had from 16 to 18 years old. My skin, you know, your skin is the largest organ on the body and it reflects what's going on internally. My skin is as soft as a baby's butt. I have no stretch marks. I have no cellulite. And a lot of people say, well, you know, I'm not doing this for the beauty, but the reality is what you're manifesting out here is showing what's going on the inside. So I think it's so important to look at that. It's almost as a film lifts off of your face. You come alive with living foods. You know, you can see the difference. I'm sure you've taken pictures of people in their transitions, or hopefully you'll get to see the difference. You can have a very beautiful woman or a beautiful man, and they start putting the living foods into their living cells, and your face screams with aliveness. You just get this vibrant look, and people are drawn to you. They're drawn to this inner light that you start to show from coming alive internally. So I think the raw foods, of course, it's the end result. It's amazing what we all benefit from the living food movement. Aside from visually, my energy levels, like I said, I'm 53 years old. I sleep 3.5 hours a night. I run 5 businesses. I'm a ballerina, I'm a dancer. I dance with girls 14 to 16 years old. I do class sometimes 4 to 6 hours a day, on point, just like I'm, you know, a youngster. And I know for a fact none of this would be possible if I didn't have my living food diet. As I said, the women in my family died overweight and young, and so I know this has nothing to do with my genetic makeup, why I'm able to enjoy all this. It's definitely the living foods and cleansing and detoxing my body. And I think as perfectly as I eat, and I would say that because I'm 100% raw, I eat absolutely nothing cooked ever. I can't tolerate it. It's not that I say, well, I will never do it. I just can't tolerate anything cooked. I still detox and cleanse my body 4 times a year, even though I eat the way I do. One of the major benefits that I've had from a living food diet, years ago, for many, many years, I suffered extreme PMS, as most American women do. I was in bed for at least 2 weeks out of every month, swelling, bloating, uncomfortability. And as my body healed and converted to the living foods diet, it got to the point where I didn't even know when my cycle was coming. It was so natural. I had no symptoms whatsoever. Now, I am not 100% sure where this goes, because I've read a lot of things where they say, women, when you become so clean, you stop having a cycle. I've read this in many books, Victoria's books and other books. But I'm also at the age when menopause would come apart. So I tend to believe that I've gone through menopause, but I've had absolutely no symptoms whatsoever. My skin hasn't changed, my sexual desire hasn't changed, I haven't, my mood, I had no mood swings, I had no hot flashes. 3 years ago, I just stopped having a period. And so I tend to think I've gone through menopause. And I do believe that if we keep our bodies in balance and we feed it oxygen, enzymes, and nutrients, and the things that we won't have menopausal symptoms. So I'm not really sure, but I say, well, I'm 53 years old, I've gone through menopause with no symptoms whatsoever. So I went from a background of extreme PMS to no problems whatsoever to I'm done. Comfortably. I think that's one of the main things about the living foods movement. Everything becomes comfortable. Everything, life, your expectations, your relationships, it all has a direct relationship to what we're putting into our system and what's feeding our body, how we think about everything. Everything is just wonderfully comfortable. I love life. Many, many of my clients have reported that my own daughter, forget my clients, my own daughter was able to turn her menstrual cycles around to becoming comfortable. But many, many clients have reported that they stopped losing all the negative symptoms, the swelling, the bloating, the mood swings, the uncomfortability. What I, in my own anecdotal research, believe a lot has to do with blood sugar levels too, especially with women with menopausal, the hot flashes. With my clients, I find that when we bring the blood sugar levels into balance, and that's the living foods and other herbs that we use, the hot flashes stop. So a lot has to do with just, all imbalances, all symptoms are telling you the body's out of balance. You bring the body into balance and you skip over the symptoms. I'm dealing with an aspect of the whole healing movement that isn't, it's touched upon, but generally the end result is what's talked about the most for people. And my book is the process on how to get there in a very joyful way. It's not about saying, oh, I'm never going to eat this again. Oh, God, I wish I had this, but no, I said I'm going to be raw. I don't think that's a very joyful way to live. I don't think it's a very comfortable way to live. And I do believe this is supposed to be a joyful journey every moment that we're here. And I believe very strongly from my own process, from the thousands of people I've worked with over the past 20 years, that by detoxing the body, the word is there, that breaking down the poisons in a very gentle, consistent manner is the way to go. And I have a number of people in my classes that have become raw foods from doing the detoxification 3-4 times. They've taken the classes 5-6, and then they just can't tolerate the cooked foods any longer. They certainly can't tolerate the meat, fish, chicken, and dairy. And it's changing on a cellular level. It's changing your biochemistry. It's not using your brain, because if using your brain worked, then everybody would be thin and healthy, right? So I think it's really, it's a point missed because everybody walks around feeling like a failure. Oprah even said to me on the show, she said, well, I tried raw foods and I was such a failure. That isn't the answer, trying, you know, it's just trying raw foods. A lot of people are going to feel like failures, you know, and as Oprah said on her show, I tried raw foods for a week and it didn't work. You can't go from A to Z, and that's not what life's all about anyway, the end result. It's the elemental PQRSTUVW that makes life flavorful and comfortable and exciting. And what I stress in my book and in my classes that I teach, that it's the process. It's the process that's important. There are no instant results. We can't just decide to be a raw foodist, a vegan, or a vegetarian. It's a wonderful, it's an education. And it's a wonderful beginning, but you have to do the work. And when Oprah said, you know, I tried it and I just failed, well, that's what's going to happen to 85% of the people. I think that if you find a good cleansing program, and there are many around the country, and there's my book, and there are many places to go, there are many teachers. I think if you find a good cleansing program, I think that you'll have the coaching. I think you need a coach for this, like you can't just sit down and play the piano. You need someone. There are a few geniuses in the world, but for the most part, you need coaches. And I think it's important to find a coach to help you through the process that you maybe check in with 3 or 4 times a year, you know, you do a program with or whatever. But you get enough perks along the way. You cleanse and detox your body and you're going to reach heights that you never even dreamed. And that's the motivation to continue going. When you're doing it on your own, it's very difficult, I think, if you don't understand what's happening to you. I think finding a support group, you know, finding retreats to go to, festivals to go to, starting a support group in your area. I think because humans are so tribal, we're wolf-like, you know, and we need things and people around us doing the same. And it's a negative gravitational pull out there to go in the other direction. So I think finding some type of support in a coach, in a group, in a setting is extremely beneficial. Otherwise, I think that it's going to be a pretty tough road. I really do. The people that I've come across in the raw food movement now are doctors, lawyers. In my last class, I had 4 judges. I kept getting great people who are going to judges or, you know, learning about the living foods movement. Actresses, attorneys, doctors. I think it's for everyone at this point in time. I think everybody is starting to wake up and smell the wheatgrass, so to speak. And I end most of my classes with, and I think people are starting to become aware, if you don't take care of this, the most beautiful machine you'll ever be given, where are you going to live? One of the ways that's extremely beneficial to help yourself in your process is if you're lucky enough to have a raw food restaurant in your area. There have been a number of them that have opened around the country, and there just haven't been enough people to support them. So I definitely say that if you're lucky enough to have a raw food restaurant, do everything in your power to support it. My restaurant, I have the longest standing raw food restaurant in the country. I've been in existence for 6 years. I'm in Chicago at 3351 North Lincoln Avenue. And you know what it is? It's that tribal feeling. It's coming around people of like-minded thinking. You know, it's putting yourself in the middle of other people who are going to support the changes that you're trying to make. And I think that it's very beneficial to support them if you have one in your area.